Well. ABC has officially canceled this upcoming premiere for the new season of The Bachelorette starring Taylor Frankie Paul. We got the video, we got the reactions, we got the statements, we got the Mormon wives that are saying, we want none of this mess. Disney, clean it up. We're done. We're going to get into a lot of it, and I have a lot of feelings. So I hope you're ready. Let's get it. This is No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, serve fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. And dive in we shall. Welcome on in, everybody in the club. What's going on? Happy Friday. We made it through another week. Now we have the weekend. Hopefully you guys are doing something fun this weekend. Do you guys have any plans? Any good, yummy, delicious plans for the weekend? I've got some meetings today. I don't think I have anything crazy popping off for the weekend. No, nothing crazy, which is kind of like wah. But it's all good. I'm sure I'll have some fun. I'll find some things to do. Oy vey, mama mia, this whole mom talk drama is crazy. Anybody else being like, what in the coconut tree is going on? Mamma mia. Debbie says, gonna stay in and do some diamond art. Ooh, shine bright like a diamond. Tonight, you and I, we're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. That's my Rihanna meets Blink-182. Tonight is you and I. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Take me back. Did they cancel Bachelorette? For sure. Well, they've canceled it for now. They've canceled it for the moment, right? Presumably, well, I don't know. It appears that they have scrapped the premiere, which was supposed to debut this weekend, this Sunday, I believe, the 22nd. So the premiere is definitely not happening this weekend. They're pulling all the promos. Dunkin' Donuts pulled out, which has been, its own mess and drama all in of itself. Yes, Chuck Norris did die as well. I know a lot of people are very sad that Chuck Norris is no longer with us, and that does make me very sad as well. But yeah. NYC says that Blink-182 rendition of Diamonds might be my favorite thing you've ever done. I love doing the Blink-182 voice. Give me another song. I'll be like, tonight, you and I, we're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Or you could do Britney. You want a piece of me. When they change their voices, it's always fun because you can easily like redo it. Okay. That set looks like I love your tank top, Zack. Thank you. You like my Marlboro tank top? Love it. Thanks. Appreciate you. Thanks for the love. Okay, so I guess let's just I'll give you all the latest on the Taylor Frankie Paul of it all. I do have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of feelings, and we're going to get through a lot. But today's episode is probably going to be all Mormon wives. I'm just warning you now. There are no Nancy Guthrie updates, unfortunately. Like, it is what it is. Nobody knows where Nancy is. Brian Enton has left. JLR has left. We're there. So, yeah, 3 tank tops this week. Guys, it is hot as balls. How am I not supposed to be rocking tank tops? It is hot. And then yesterday we had issues with the AC. It was down all day. And the dogs and I were like, it's been too hot. Way too hot. White tank wasn't on my bingo card for today. What was on your bingo card for today? Another Nirvana shirt. No, not another Nirvana. Let's see, what is the temperature right now? It's currently 76, which is not terrible. But it's going to be okay. It's a high of 95, which is hot. But JLR got charged with DA. The report came out yesterday. I did see that, or I saw something about that. But I mean, to be honest, I'm not that invested in JLR investigates or his like personal drama. I was only investigated when he was giving us updates on Nancy Benet Ramsey. Okay. Marlboro Man's name was Dick Hammer. Oh, interesting. I didn't know Marlboro Man's name was Dick Hammer. 95 in March, is that normal for LA? Sort of. In LA, it's always kind of warm. It's always like 70s, 80s. And then when it gets a little warm, it's in the 90s. So even though, yes, technically we are still in winter, it does get hot. It gets a little hot and humid because it's always pretty warm. Lisa says hot in California 101 yesterday, and I am hot. Yes, it was not cute. Not cute. Are you sure he got charged? Thought it was a no contact agreement. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I saw something about it, but I don't know too much about JLR or his personal drama. I just liked when he was streaming and covering Nancy Guthrie. Okay, that said, yesterday, ABC decided to pull the new season premiere for The Bachelorette, which was supposed to debut this Sunday, and it was going to star Taylor Frankie Paul. It was their first famous Bachelorette that hasn't been on the show prior. We also had Jordan from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. He decided to file for divorce from Jesse. I don't think any of us are really shocked that Jordan and Jesse are getting divorced. I mean, we've watched the relationship crumble over the last 2 seasons of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So I'm not really that shooketh by the news, but that was the update that they are officially dunzos. They are officially getting divorced. And I would imagine it's going to be messy, especially since we just learned in this most recent season 4, that there's no solid prenup in place. There were no witnesses that signed the prenup. Therefore, we don't know if the prenup is even valid, which is crazy. But that was the news that came out yesterday. And then there was a photo in TMZ that shows Dakota running into Taylor Frankie Paul's ex-husband, ex-husband, but she only had one husband because she's never gotten remarried. But so her ex was also at the courthouse and Dakota was also at the courthouse, and they apparently ran into each other. And so people were speculating that maybe the ex could be filing some sort of temporary restraining order or custody or something. We don't know. The ex seems to be pretty off the radar. Her ex-husband, Tate, I believe is his name. And so crazy. But now, and the latest that came out this morning, feels like there was this post that somebody put on their Instagram stories yesterday, and it's that viral video of that woman who's like dancing like this, and then they have that music and it's like, and she's like, her head's bopping all over, and they were like, this is what it feels like with all the latest Mormon wives news. It's like headline, news, divorce, beating, restraining order, all of this stuff. Crazy video footage, evidence, arrest. So it's just wackadoodle wild. But so the latest is the NBC obtained a recording of a phone call with the cast and Disney executives, because obviously Disney, ABC, Hulu, they're all under the same umbrella, shared umbrella that is producing all of these shows. That's why you see all of the the crossovers, right? With the Mormon Wives going on ABC, but then them also doing Vanderpump Villa, and then, Bachelorette. It's all part of that same, it's all part of that same ABC family. But so they had a meeting, the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives cast, without Taylor Frankie Paul, and they were basically saying that they had major concerns about continuing the show if Taylor was still involved. So they, I don't believe, have released the audio from this call, but NBC News did obtain the audio and they reported on it. And it basically, the girls are saying, we don't want to follow, we don't want to be part of any of Taylor's legal drama. We don't want to be, it's too dark, it's too heavy, it's too scandalous. And so it seems like they just really want to take a break. And some people are like, wow, I can't believe the Mormon wives are totally ditching Taylor. They're bailing on her. They're turning their backs on her when she was the leader of Mom Talk. But it's also but at what point, when somebody is only a danger to themselves and their own reputation, right? Taylor is very much chaotic and causes chaos everywhere she goes. So it's at what point do you then be we can't keep enabling this? We're enabling an addict, we're enabling somebody that's addicted to chaos, and they're going to drag all of us and this show down with us, and we don't want to be a part of it. There are allegations of child abuse, there are allegations of DV, and all of those things are really, really serious, especially now that the video has come out. And so this call took place before the video was even posted. We'll get into the video in just a bit, but it's crazy because right now Taylor's facing a potential arrest. She's facing a potential felony charge following her 2023 arrest from when she was last charged with DV. So she was originally arrested for assaulting her then boyfriend, now baby daddy, current situationship, Dakota. Dakota Mortensen. And at the time, back in 2023, she pleaded guilty to the charge, agreed to a 3-year probation period, which would bring the charge down from a felony to a misdemeanor. So that was part of her probation. As long as she was able to behave herself for the next 3 years, they were going to reduce that, right? And so that probation was set to be lifted this upcoming August. So she was this close to being done with that. She was this close to finally being able to put this all behind her. And yet here she is. Nothing. Completely blown it up. Because I don't think, I mean, even though her probation hasn't like formally, like there's not been an official like violation mark against her, I would imagine as this new investigation of what just happened last month with Dakota, I would imagine that's going to affect it. It's just they haven't fully investigated. There hasn't been an arrest yet, but I would imagine there will be an arrest coming, right? I just can't believe she was this close. And then following filming of The Bachelorette, right? She just finished filming that in December? She got into yet another altercation with Dakota. And not just one, but 2 times since she's been out from The Bachelorette, right? Which led to a third party. It was 2 nights back to back. This led to a third party calling the cops. And then they were presented with evidence of an assault. And the evidence was the scratches on Dakota's neck. So now the big question is, how did NBC not know about any of this? And if they did know about any of this, why was she hired, right? Obviously, they didn't know about what was going to happen come February, but I'm referencing how did they not know about what happened back in 2023 when she was first arrested? How are they not fully aware of that situation? Did they not investigate it? And if they did know, which I'm assuming they did know, why hire her, right? Well, this is my theory. So Mormon Wives, hit show, right? These women captivated the zeitgeist of pop culture, really pushed Hulu into the forefront as like a major player in the reality TV game. I think it really took off in a way they didn't expect. And you can just see that with the level of headlines and the attention and the draw of these women. So Mormon Wives, successful show, seemingly all pretty well liked by the general public, right? Then you add on top of that, you had Whitney and Jen, who were case studies on Dancing with the Stars that proved success for these brands, right? Disney, Hulu, ABC, it was a great crossover, and they proved that they could be assets to the network, and they did a great job, right? I'm sure Taylor's team sold them on the idea because Taylor was the star of Mormon Wives, this groundbreaking show. It's hot right now. Get it while it's hot, right? She's clearly the leader of this group. She's clearly the lead of this show. So they were like, yeah, she would be perfect to be the Bachelorette. This show, it's the top show. If you can't get a Kardashian at this point in 2026, 2025, the best next thing you could get is a Mormon wife. And if you're going to get any Mormon wife, you might as well get the one that's single and the one that's the lead of the show, right? You're not going to put Layla on the Bachelorette. So, and listen, I guarantee you Taylor's team also told them and sold them on the idea. I'm sure they were like, listen, yes, she has a past, but the past is already out there. This is nothing new. The public has already, for the most part, forgiven her for that. She's grown from it. She's even better from it. And even better, here's the real selling point that I'm sure they got the ABC team to like really confirm with this is that Taylor's currently on probation. She's currently on probation, which means there's no way that she would do anything to jeopardize getting that felony charge. And there's no way she would do anything to jeopardize losing her kids. So if you're worried about the ABC brand, don't be, because she's facing a felony and she could potentially lose her kids if she doesn't follow through with her probation. And guess what? Her probation goes through the end of this season of The Bachelorette, right? Her probation was up in August of 2026. She took this agreement in August of 2023. So when ABC is presented with that, we're like, okay, well, yeah, it's not going to be it's not a new scandal. Like, I think that's pretty compelling. It's not a new scandal. Her arrest was already covered on the show. Fans didn't take much issue with it. That was back in season 1. The show is thriving in season 4. It's nothing new. It's not some past skeleton in the closet that can come out and be a gotcha moment and be used against her now. The probation piece, I think, is a real selling point because that makes sense. Why would she jeopardize everything that she has at this point by screwing it all up? She's so close to finishing her probation. She's been so good for the last 2.5 years, for the most part. She's been good for the last 2.5 years. So I'm sure ABC was like, you know what? We'll take the gamble. Seems worth it, right? The announcement went well of Taylor Frankie Paul becoming the next Bachelorette. Alex Cooper had her on Call Her Daddy, and the response from the public, mostly positive. Aside from some people being annoyed, I was actually very excited. It was all going well. And then she goes and she fucks it all up. So I envision next comes the lawsuits. I can see the contestants banding together to file a lawsuit against the network for endangering them with somebody like Taylor, who is a threat to their safety. And we now see that in this video footage. I know a number of them have spoken out. And for the most part, they're saying a whole lot of nothing. They're kind of just like, thank you for your support. Thank you for your support. Thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you for thinking of me. But I mean, there's not a whole lot more that they've really given. There's not a lot that they can do, especially considering there is possibly the potential that ABC could end up releasing this if there are no charges brought against Taylor. But I don't even know if Dakota's going to fight for that at this point. I think at this point, he's like, nah, screw this. Let them lock her up. Let her probation be violated. Like, I'm tired of this behavior, you know? And that's absolutely possible. But I do envision that should this season get scrapped, because my understanding too is how these shows work with the pay structure. You don't get paid all up front. You only get paid if your season airs. You get paid after it airs, right? I think they give you like a bump at the front. They break it up, and I think you get like an advance at the front, a chunk of whatever you're guaranteed. Or usually that's how it is with reality TV contracts. They give you a chunk up front, they give you a chunk at the end of production, and then they give you a chunk after the show has already been aired. So, or in other cases, you don't get an advance up front, but you agree to like a day rate. And so for every day that you are there, some of them are scene rates, some of them are day rates. Like, it's all very different depending on the network and the show itself. I'm not specifically sure how the Bachelorette pay structure works, but those are typically how it's done. It's either done in a lump sum, where it's broken up into 2 advances and then the final payment upon completion of the show airing, or you're paid a day rate, or you're paid a per scene rate. Per scene rates are more of like a Vanderpump Rules, right? Where you sign on to the contract up front, and then depending on how many scenes are used in the final cut once the show airs, that determines what your pay structure then becomes. Usually with competition shows, you're paid a day rate. And I believe they pay you a portion upon completion of production. And then I believe the final portion is on after the show airs. And in some cases, there are bonuses. It's all very different depending on the show and the network. And I'm not entirely sure about The Bachelorette, but I would imagine there is a portion of pay that these men are still due that they're likely not going to get. So they're probably going to sue for that. This happened with VH1. They had a show called I Love Money 3. The show ended up having to get scrapped. I think I Love Money 3 and I Love Money 4 ended up getting scrapped because there was a scandal. I'll get into that scandal in a bit and compare it to today. But based off of that scandal, they scrapped season 4. And the winner of season 4 of I Love Money wasn't able to get her money because they didn't end up airing season 4. And so she had to take them to court and be like, hey, I won that prize money. I'm entitled to that prize money. And then ultimately they ended up airing, like years down the line, they ended up airing season 4. Season 3, the winner ended up being somebody that like committed a murder, and it was like a whole thing, which I'll get into in a bit and compare it. But yeah. So typically you don't get all your money, is the point that I'm trying to make, until the show actually airs. So I would imagine there are some payments that are still due, and these guys are going to fight for that. And they have strong grounds for that, right? Because their safety is in danger. You saw Taylor flinging those metal chairs with no regard for her children in the room or anything else. I would then envision that the network would possibly sue Taylor for breach of contract. And these contracts usually have a morality clause. Okay. You can't engage in scandal or do anything that could jeopardize the brand. You have to protect the brand, not just your brand, but the brand that's paying you, that you're then a representative of. And arguably, Taylor's past behavior was her past, right? But the real issue is that she went and did this again recently after production wrapped, before the season aired, which hindered their ability to be able to release this on time. So I can see them fighting for any advance that they may have paid her. I can see them suing her for damages. And it's been reported that they're losing tens of $millions by scrapping this season. They had Cinnabon pull out publicly. That alone shows damages. Whatever money that Cinnabon was committed to doing for this season has now been pulled. So those are very clear damages that they can that they can then fight Taylor for. I don't know how much they're going to be able to fight her for, but I would imagine they're going to make it hurt, right? It's not like ABC thinks that they can get a whole lot of money out of Taylor, but they can certainly leave a dent in her wallet as, punishment for violating her morality clause. But look, this was part of what Duncan was planning on doing. They were not Duncan. Ooh, apologies. Cinnabon. This is what Cinnabon was planning on doing. So it looks like they had coasters that were supposed to be for the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives on Hulu, and those coasters, which Alfred does a really good job of doing these promotional coasters. Alfred Coffee does these a lot here in Los Angeles, and then you have Cinnabon and the Bachelorette. So it looks like they had their to-go boxes that were supposed to be branded for the Bachelorette, and then they had the Mormon Wives coaster. So it looks like they were going to be promoting both, and they pulled out of both. Now I'm curious as to what this, like, is ABC paying Cinnabon for this, or is Cinnabon paying, or like, that's the part that's kind of interesting. And so you can see here the example of what they were planning. I don't know if this is a real photo or like a mock-up of what they were planning on doing, or probably just the photo that they were going to use to promote it. But I'm not sure, being that this is technically advertising, right? So like, think of a bus, right? The bus that drives through your town. And when you see the bus, there's like, or a billboard, right? You see the big banner promoting the TV show. Now, it's not the bus that's paying to have that promotion. It's usually the brand that's paying the bus, or paying the billboard, or paying, the bus station billboards, those long ones. Usually they're paying for that advertising spot. So I don't know if this is like a Cinnabon advertisement that they sold that ABC and Hulu bought into, or if this was some sort of paid collaboration on Cinnabon's end. I don't know. But it's crazy. And that's and they can, whether ABC invested that money in Cinnabon and then lost out on that promotion, or whether Cinnabon was donating, or not donating, but sponsoring in some way and then withdrew that support. Either way, there are damages there that they can come after Taylor for, and that's a very clear example of that. But I do feel like this could be the real reality reckoning. Remember, Bethany Frankel was like, reality reckoning, and then did absolutely nothing to reckon the reality TV genre. But I think that this is going to change the game. You have two things that are happening right now. You have this whole drama with Taylor Frankie Paul, this scandal, and then you still have the Leah McSweeney lawsuit against Bravo. Those are two big networks in the reality TV genre that are being hit very hard. And I've been very clear about the Leah McSweeney lawsuit. She was a former cast member on The Real Housewives of New York. She was on for 2 seasons, and then she returned to participate in the 3rd season of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, which was a trip to Thailand with a bunch of different housewives. And she's now suing the network for saying that it was a toxic work environment, and they violated or were discriminatory against her disability, which was alcohol use disorder. That was her disability that they violated. So they had alcohol available on while they were filming Ultimate Girls Trip and even filming Real Housewives of New York. And so therefore, that's, them not acknowledging her disability or not honoring her disability, whatever. But I've always said it's not that Leah has a strong case based off of merit. It's that Leah's taking Bravo, NBC, Andy Cohen. She's going to drag them into this public dispute. And once we get into this to discovery, it's going to get messy. And that's where it's going to be really bad for the reputation of NBC, Bravo, and Andy Cohen. All of them are going to end up looking really, really bad, because once they dig up all of their emails, their text messages, the contracts, footage, like, it's all going to get so messy and so bad. And so Bravo, I know they're fighting hard to like not have to let this be a big public spectacle, but they were fighting to move it into a private arbitration behind closed doors. But the judge said, nope, you started this in public. It's going to be played out in public. You just thought you were going to win. And now you have to actually go through this messy discovery phase, and it's going to get bad. So this is why I think we're now in this reality reckoning culture, or the official reckoning has officially begun. So this is what happened to VH1 back when they had this show called Megan Wants a Millionaire. And it was very similar to like Taylor Frankie Paul dating all these suitors. It was Megan Hauserman. She was the breakout star of VH1's dating show Rock of Love with Bret Michaels. That came from the spinoff Flavor of Love with Flavor Flav. And so they ended up doing all of these of love spinoffs, right? Daisy of Love, I Love New York with Tiffany New York Pollard. And so this was their golden era of dating shows for VH1. And it was really popular, so much so that Megan got her own spinoff. She did I Love Money. She did Charm School. She became like one of the pillar fixtures from those shows at that time. They gave her own dating show. And then one of the contestants, I believe he was the runner up or was at least in the top 3. His name was Ryan Jenkins. And after they completed production on the show, so he filmed Megan Wants a Millionaire, didn't win, but like was one of the finalists. Then he went on to film I Love Money, which took all of the different contestants. Think of it as like a MTV's The Challenge, right? Where they take all these different people together and they make them compete for a grand prize. That's what I Love Money was. It took all of these different contestants from all these of love shows, put them in a house together in Mexico, and then they had to compete in different challenges based off of their of love shows to see who could make it all the way to the end and win the cash prize. And I believe it was $250,000 that they were competing for. Yeah, because they were like $250,000. Whoa. So yes. So Ryan Jenkins, after filming Megan Wants a Millionaire and filming the 3rd season of I Love Money, which I believe he won. He was the winner of I Love Money 3. Then he ended up, after filming those 2 shows, but before they ever got to air, he ended up murdering his girlfriend. I believe Megan Wants a Millionaire had just begun airing. It was only 2 episodes in when the news broke that they found his girlfriend, Jasmine. She was a model. He tried to cover it up. I believe, dismembered her and took her teeth out and like all of these things to try and make sure they couldn't identify her. And I believe they ended up identifying her by her breast implants, by the serial number on her breast implants. So once he got caught, then he was on the run. He tried to go to Canada. He ended up taking his own life. And this was all while Megan Wants a Millionaire had just begun airing on VH1. And so this ultimately led to the vetting process of how they cast people on these shows being pulled into question for the contestants. And then knowing what he was capable of, like how was he allowed to be on this show? How was he allowed to be crowned the winner? Like he won a $250,000 cash prize on I Love Money. So how was he able to get away with all that? Like how were there no psychological indicators that he could have been a potential threat? I know Megan Hauserman. I interviewed her. I interviewed a lot of them. Lacey Skulls, Dave, his name was 12 Pack. I interviewed Tiffany New York Pollard, Megan Hauserman. This was back in like 2020. Like that's the summer of 2020. I went back and revisited a lot of those old reality shows and interviewed a lot of those reality stars and being like, what happened at that time? How did what was your reaction as the news was breaking in real time? And even Megan was like, it was traumatizing. She's like, I really had feelings for this guy. I fell in love with this guy. I didn't end up picking him, but I was going to pick him. Like I was going to choose him, but the producers didn't want me to because I guess they wanted him to go and do I Love Money, which he ultimately ended up winning. And like that, and that's crazy. Imagine if Megan would have picked him and that could have been her. And I know that was part of the trauma that she carried, was like, if he was capable of doing this to his girlfriend, Jasmine, after the show, who's to say he wasn't capable of doing this to me had I chosen him and then been with him at the end. And so ultimately this led to the crumbling of 51 Minds, which was the production company that was producing these shows. And that ended the era for VH1 altogether, because ultimately it just became a liability and their credibility took a major hit, right? Because how do you then, that just opens you up to so many different lawsuits when you can't properly vet your contestants, and then your credibility gets hurt. And like VH1's obviously not going to want to keep ties with 51 Minds. So that broke down, and then it ultimately just killed that whole genre for VH1 and killed VH1 for the most part. Like they've tried to come back, but they've never had the moment that they had, the momentum that they had at that time. And so I feel like this was such a huge moment for ABC, especially with redefining The Bachelorette, with making it relevant again in comparison to when it first started. Like they didn't even have a season of The Bachelor this year. And I think it was because they put all of their investment into The Bachelorette because they needed to like rework the genre. We know that they were trying to get Khloe Kardashian at one point a few years ago, and she was just like, no, 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 no. And so this was their opportunity. And I was actually going to watch The Bachelorette for the first time because it starred Taylor Frankie Paul. Like I was all in. I was ready, And then it just all went to shit and it crumbled before our eyes. But now a lot of people are shifting blame onto Dakota. And they're saying that he did this intentionally to hurt Taylor and that he sold the footage of his assault to get back at her, yada, yada, yada. And listen, I want to be very clear. I do not like Dakota. I am not defending Dakota. I think he's gross. I think he's a toxic dude. We've seen it on the show. He's toxic. Okay. There's no defending that. I'm sure he did in some way want to tank Taylor's opportunity. I said this at the very beginning of this news breaking, that I think he wanted to tank this opportunity for her because then it would, and it would only keep her coming back to him, right? It would keep her attached to him. She would lose all of her opportunities and then have nothing left but him. So I think that he was very manipulative, and I think he was very toxic, and I think he knew what he was doing, right? But also, let's be clear, there is zero evidence to support the claim that Dakota sold this footage to TMZ. TMZ, in their publishing of this footage, stated specifically, they said TMZ has obtained the video, a copy of which was evidence in the case. Okay. What was the case? The case was the very public case against Taylor Frankie Paul when she was arrested, charged, and pleaded guilty, right? So the video was out there. It was used as evidence in Taylor's public court hearing where she, again, pleaded guilty. Furthermore, Taylor talked about all of this. She talked about this incident specifically in a podcast, made it clear that she was the one that was in the wrong. The evidence proved that. She admits that herself. She's like, listen, the evidence proved that I was the aggressor. She specifically used that word, I was the aggressor. So all these people that are theorizing, well, we don't know what Dakota did before that footage happened. Absolutely, we don't know what happened before that footage. But we do have Taylor's own words. We have Taylor pleading guilty. We have Taylor admitting that she was the aggressor. And then we have video evidence that corroborates that, right? And the judge and even Dakota gave Taylor a second chance to prove herself with this 3 years of probation. Dakota has also had 4 seasons of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives to leak this footage. If he wanted it out there, he had plenty of opportunities to put it out there, right? There was no need for him to do this because he never did it. TMZ obtained the footage, likely through someone associated with the case, possibly. I mean, I don't know if it's available on the public court docket. We're seeing that happen in the Blake Lively case, right? It wasn't easy to obtain, but you can obtain it. When you have video evidence, they typically put it on a CD, and those CDs are available at the courthouse. But you have to actually go to the courthouse, obtain a hard copy of the footage, then you can bring it back, upload it, share it in the media, yada, yada, yada. And the press does have certain access. They are easier access than the general public, I believe, in certain instances. So again, Dakota's had ample opportunities and time to leak this footage. It's been 3 years and 4 seasons of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and we haven't seen it until now. So why did it come out now? Great question. Let's get into that. Get out your handy dandy notebook, okay? Because you're forgetting the very key context here, that Taylor has now been accused of assaulting him again. That's what made TMZ and all of the internet sleuths start digging into her past and being like, wait, we knew about this story. We watched it on Mormon Wives, but we never asked any follow-up questions. We never dug into it anymore. So there was no need to dig into it before, right? Because again, the info was already exposed and the story was already told in season 1 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. We thought we had already known the story. We thought we knew all the details because it was addressed, and we'd kind of just moved on from it because we were like, whoa, that was crazy. But we're so captivated by the show and by all the other women in the show, we didn't care to ask any follow-up questions because it had been presumably resolved, and Taylor had been pregnant in season 1 with Dakota's baby. So it's like, oh, well, whatever happened, they seem to have moved past that. But yeah, that was really bad. But now we've actually seen the footage because now we've had an interest in going back and digging up those old details, right? The same way people are now digging up her old podcast interviews where she references this, or her old videos on TikTok where she pokes light at this. So now we're seeing the footage, and the footage is bad. It's bad, like bad. So how and why anybody could be defending Taylor at all is crazy. Crazy. I'm not defending Dakota. I want to be very clear about that. I am not defending Dakota at all. He has a number of flaws that I cannot stand by. Okay. Toxic, to me, a gross man, right? However, Taylor is also in the wrong, right? Neither of them, I don't think, deserve our defense, to be honest with you. I think they're grown adults that made decisions that they didn't think all the way through. I understand there are people that say, well, they clearly have mental health issues. And yes, that is true, but they also are grown adults and they can take control of their own health and circumstances, and they have families that can also intervene. But I think what we've seen here is these two have been enabled and their bad behavior has been rewarded. And to a degree, yeah, we like watching the crazy, toxic stuff on television. It's captivating, right? But also at the same time, how far do we go with rewarding certain bad behavior? I'm the first one to always say, I think we need to give people grace. And I think we need to allow people to show us that they've changed or not. And in this case, Taylor Frankie Paul has shown us that she has not changed, right? Because Taylor's wrong here, Dakota's wrong here, but let's stick to just the facts of the situation. Not conjecture, not speculation, not maybe he sold it, maybe not, maybe he did something before the footage, maybe not, but let's stick to just the cold, hard facts of the situation that we know as of right now. More can change, new context, new details could come out, but as of right now, what we have here are the cold, hard facts. I know this may be uncomfortable for some of you raw feminists to hear, but Taylor assaulted Dakota in front of their daughter. That is a fact that is documented on footage, right? We've seen the video. That is a fact. She assaulted him multiple times, hitting him, slapping him, throwing metal chairs at him. Taylor's daughter got hit and injured by the chair that Taylor threw at Dakota. That is a fact. That is called child endangerment. That was part of one of the reasons she was arrested. She hurt, she injured, she assaulted her own daughter. That is a fact. That is documented on footage. And not only that, but she had a goose egg from getting hit by the chair, her daughter. And furthermore, Taylor stood before a judge and pleaded guilty. That is another fact. Taylor, in her own words, said, yes, I did these things, and then continued in a podcast interview to call herself the aggressor based off of the evidence that was presented in court. She owned up to that, okay? There's video evidence. There's physical evidence of injuries, both to Dakota and to Taylor's daughter, right? And then there's Taylor's own admission. Those are cold, hard facts, right? Even if Dakota did leak the footage, even if he did sell the footage, giving Taylor a pass despite those cold, hard facts alone is asinine. And anybody that's defending her right now, I get maybe you feel bad for the girl, right? Because she's kind of lost. She keeps making her own bad decisions. But defending her, that to me is insane. Don't defend him either. Granted, you can say he's a victim of DV, and sure, I can hear that argument, but he's in no way innocent in all of this either. Not to say that he deserved to have chairs thrown at him or he deserved to be assaulted. I'm not saying that either. But what I am saying is he's also a grown adult that continues to put himself in a situation where he likes to irritate and aggravate and be the aggressor towards Taylor. Maybe not physically, but he knows what he's doing when he's pushing his buttons. He knows that this is a toxic situation. And he also knows that he's endangering their son ever by continuing to put himself in this situation with her. So at this point, I'm like, fuck your fake woke feminism, okay? Maybe you should stand down and actually stand up for the children that are affected by this, okay? You hear her daughter screaming in that video. You hear her crying, screaming mommy as she's attacking Dakota. Stand up for those babies. Don't stand up for Taylor. Taylor's flawed and Taylor's a grown adult and she needs to get the help that she needs, okay? Could Dakota also have been physically abusive? Possibly, yes, right? Within the realm of possibility. Could he have leaked or sold this footage? Possibly, yes, totally within the realm of possibility. However, we have no evidence of either of those things being true. That's purely internet speculation, but we do have evidence of the opposite. Evidence of Taylor being the aggressor, of being the violent one, and of putting her children in harm's way. Not only with her daughter, the night she hit her daughter with the chair that she threw at Dakota, but then also with this most recent incident, right? With the most recent claims against her, saying that her son Ever was in the room at the time that she was assaulting Dakota, again, as recent as February of 2026, right? Let's also not forget that there was an original investigation done in 2023. Guess who was not arrested? Guess who was not charged with the crime? Dakota. Based off of the police investigation. You're going to tell me if they would have found evidence that he harmed her or her kid, that he would not have also been arrested and charged and had to have faced his own crimes? He's manipulative. Yes. He's got narcissistic tendencies. Yes. He loves to push Taylor's buttons. He's a womanizer. He's a player. He's fame hungry. He's a bit of a dick sometimes. Oftentimes, actually, we have evidence of all of that. If you've watched the show, you'll know that all of those things are true. But the evidence against Taylor is overwhelming, and anybody that is defending her should be embarrassed of themselves, right? Defend those children. They deserve better parents. Defend those children. Stand up for those children who will now have real childhood trauma as a result of that shit. Okay, I saw a bunch of shit that I shouldn't have seen as a kid. Okay, I remember living in fear based off my own situation at home with our stepfather. Now, granted, He has changed a lot. He is still the father of my brothers. So out of respect for my brothers and the fact that this is their father, I will not disparage him. And to his credit, he has changed a lot. However, there was a lot that I saw as a kid and the fear that I lived with for my own mother's life. And I remember that fear. I remember trying to hide. I remember calling 911. I remember being a kid in the middle of the street, barefoot, screaming for help from the neighbors because I didn't know what the fuck to do, because I wasn't strong enough or old enough to overpower this man. Now, to be fair, I think it's worth saying he never once put his hands on me, my brothers, or my mother, but he was violent. And when he became drunk, he was a completely different person. He would throw furniture. He would punch holes into the wall. He would kick down the door at 2 a.m. If my mother and him were in a fight and she locked him out of the house, he would bust down the door. I remember what that was like. I remember how I felt and the fear I had as a child. Okay. I don't want those babies to feel that because that carries on with you. Now, granted, I have worked on that. I have healed from that. I don't have a contentious or bad relationship with my stepfather. I think he has worked on himself enough to where he's now in a new relationship. He has a home. He's established with his family. He and my mother are not together. They haven't been together in a very long time. My mother is, I love my mother. I will always defend my mother. I've always been a champion for women because they were always the superior ones in my life when it came to the people that raised me. The women were constantly the powerhouses in my life, and the men were constantly letting me down and disappointing me. Okay. So anybody that tries to argue that I defend men over women, I'm not here to defend Dakota. I don't want to defend Dakota. However, the behavior that we've seen exhibited is so much worse from Taylor. And I'm just saying, from somebody that has been in a household where you see things and you don't fully understand them because you're so young and emotionally immature and you don't understand the world to that point. All you know are your innate primal feelings, and an innate primal feeling you have in that moment is fear. And it's not logical. And you don't have the brain wherewithal as a child to think about all of the logical outcomes or the right things to do, or, the nuances of the situation. All you know is the immediate fear in the moment. And I can say in that moment, I genuinely feared for my mother's life. And that was a fear that I never want to relive. And that, I still carry with me to this day. So when I hear that baby girl screaming in that video footage, and then I hear people fucking defending Taylor Frankie Paul as she's flinging chairs and hitting her own kid, I will not defend that. And the fact that anybody is defending that is deplorable to me. Neither of these parents deserve our defense. They deserve to be held accountable, and they need to learn from their actions because they made a conscious decision to bring these babies into this world, and now they need to be responsible and buck the fuck up and stand up for those children and stop with their own toxic bullshit behavior. Those children are what matter now. Stop defending her and stop defending him. They need to learn from their actions. They are grown adults. They are not children. They need to learn from their actions, and they need to face the consequences of their actions. So if anybody deserves any grace or empathy or compassion, it's not Dakota and it's not Taylor. It's their children. So I don't want to hear that bullshit anymore. They're grown adults, they're making decisions, and they're fucking up their own lives, but now they need to be responsible for their kids because their kids are the real innocent ones in all of this. So for Taylor to go putting out all her statements about how she's a victim and this is just Dakota manipulating the details again, total fumble of the ball, girlfriend. Take accountability for your own pattern of behavior. Her statements where she's trying to now turn herself into a victim at the hands of Dakota. I'm sorry, again, if we just go based off of the cold, hard facts, there's more of a compelling case against her than there is against him, right? At least when it comes to physical danger and the physical danger of their children. So make all the decisions you want to screw up your own lives, but now you have children and now you have to think about them. Now you have to factor that in. Sorry, I got a little activated and all of that, but the fact that people, and listen, it's nuanced when it comes to the networks, because I think to the networks, and again, I'm sure what was sold to ABC for The Bachelorette, on behalf of Taylor was that yes, this is in the past. We've moved on from this. We've grown from this. And I would have been right there defending Taylor with that same argument, because I'm always here to give people grace and to give them the benefit of the doubt and allow them an opportunity to change. But now we have her starting the cycle all over again in February. All over again. 2 nights back to back where there are new claims of assault towards Dakota. And cops were called, not by Dakota, but by a third party. Well, actually by Dakota on the first night. And then a day or two later is when his friend ended up calling, and they came and they verified and they saw the scratch marks on his neck. He's not defendable. Okay. But you can also see that two things can be true at once. He could be a total dick and a narcissist and an asshole, but he could also be the victim of DV. And also, she can be, maybe well-intended, maybe wanting to do better, but she's also flawed herself. All of these things can be true at once, but to pick teams and make this a black and white issue is not the case. And the only time it should be a black and white issue is when you're thinking of the well-being of those children. So we'll see where this goes, right? But now when it comes to the show, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, where we go from here with that, I don't know. Can the brand even be saved? I don't know. With these reports of the other women wanting to back out from Taylor's scandal, like I imagine there's, it's not really a storyline that the other women want focused on this season. I don't know what Hulu will do next. I said that they could have done one of three things. One, they could either scrap the season altogether and scrap the show. They can scrap the season and begin filming again from the start, and maybe just open up the new season with the fallout of all of this, where the other women react to the news, but they don't really get into it or film Taylor. Or, they film what they had, edit that into the first episode or two, and then, remove Taylor and Dakota from the rest of the season. We saw that happen in The Hills. So a couple of examples where this has happened before. Jenny, what was her last name? Nguyen. She was one of the cast members of The Real Houses of Salt Lake City, I think in season 2, season 3. She was a newbie that came in. I think it was season 2. She was a newbie that came in, got caught up in a racism scandal. And when they began filming season 3, I believe, or the new season that she was supposed to be a part of, and then she got fired, what they ended up doing was just scrapping all of the footage that they had of her altogether and kind of just like completely brushed over that she even existed on the show. They just left her aside, moved on, and season 3 kept filming, and they made it seem like her and her racism scandal never even happened. It was never addressed on the show, and the footage that was taped just got cut. So that's one route that they could go in, or they can go like what happened with the final season of The Hills, right? Where Spencer and Heidi were becoming these toxic villains and the rest of the cast didn't want to film with them. So eventually they were written out of the rest of the show. They were only in the first few episodes, and then they ended up getting fired and weren't in the remaining episodes from that season. That's another possibility, that they open with the scandal, they open with Dakota and Taylor, and then, eventually kind of fizzle them out by the end. I could even see, maybe they bring Taylor back at the end for the finale to have like a sit down or a one-on-one with the group of women to discuss everything, as her like final homage to see her sail off into the sunset. I'm not sure how the public will even react to it, really. I feel like it would be compelling reality TV, but like how far do you even go with that now that we know that there are children and their well-being and their safety is now in danger? Will any of the other women even want to appear with Taylor on camera? I think they need to figure out what their game plan is. However, I also think that Hulu, if they want to save the brand, like the Mormon Wives brand overall, I think that their best bet is to invest in Whitney. And I know a lot of people had mixed feelings about Whitney, but I think Whitney is the only real asset that Hulu has in the franchise that can even save the reputation of the franchise. The other women, and I do like them. I like Macy and Jesse and Michaela and Layla. I mean, Layla's kind of boring, but like, I like them. But the issue with the other women and why they wouldn't be able to carry it on their own is because they've established themselves as an ensemble. So you don't really know them individually outside of the collective. And unfortunately, that ensemble is attached to the Mormon Wives brand. And right now that brand is associated and attached to Taylor Frankie Paul. So Whitney, on her own right, she's been able to become a star all on her own, partially due to the fact that the other women did try to ice her out in seasons 2 and 3. And so that kind of forced her to stand on her own, but she did it. She's proven herself, right? She proved to the network that she can be an asset. She crushed it on Dancing with the Stars. She bargained with the network and returned to Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, continued to film, fulfilled all of her obligations and commitments to the show. And now she's dominating it as Roxy Hart on Broadway. So I think if anything, follow Whitney's life in New York, give her a spinoff with her family in the Big Apple, and let that carry on the franchise to help save it. And, it'll likely be a short-lived spinoff, but it can offset the scandal of Taylor Frankie Paul, kind of save the image and reputation, and then maybe they can find a way to restructure Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which, I don't know what they're going to do with that, because at this point, Taylor Frankie Paul is their biggest liability, but then they have to at least play to their strongest asset, and that asset is Whitney Levitt. So we'll see. We shall see. Oh, wow. Thank you guys for all these super chats. Aries says, they're both wrong, but let's not equate their behavior. Being a sleaze is not the same thing as being an abuser. Exactly. Very much the point that I was trying to make. They're both wrong. They're both toxic, but I agree. Their behavior is not the same. And her behavior, from what we've seen so far, is a lot worse. Again, totally within the realm of possibility that Dakota has his own really bad behavior. We just haven't seen it yet. There's been no arrests against him. There's been no footage of him. There's been no physical evidence that has been presented that shows that he's been physically abusive towards Taylor. None of that has come to light. So all we can go with is based off of the 2023 investigation that shows she was very much the one in the wrong and the aggressor, which she admitted. Kelly McClellan with the super chat says, the way she acted in the presence of her child is inexcusable and put her child in harm's way. Absolutely, Kelly. Not just once, not just twice, but now it's a reported 3 times. There was the original incident that she was arrested for back in 2023, and there are 2 separate nights. And so far from what's been reported ever, their son, the son that she shares with Dakota, was in the room for both incidents. So he was able to see what happened. Tiana Jordan says, I also experienced this as a child. I'm now in my 40s and can say 100% these events stay with you forever. You heal and grow, but it never leaves you. It's so sad. Yes, and it never leaves you, for sure. But then there's also a part of me that's maybe grateful. I mean, obviously, and my brothers were too young. I don't think one of them has autism. The other one I don't think has much memory because he was so young at the time, but like in a sense maybe there is, or maybe it's just been part of my own way of processing it. And I'm not one to sit here and cry about my childhood trauma, because like that's not who I am. That's not what I do. I believe in empowering yourself and healing and working past, and I even hate going back to the past and relitigating it, right? Because I feel like at some point we need to be able to move on and move forward from it. But those experiences do shape us, to your point, Tiana. And I think that you can use them to shape you in a positive way. And you can use them to help you view the world differently. And that can either be bad and worse. And I think some people really lean into that victimhood, and they, or they end up recreating that same cycle of abuse, right? For me, I like to say that information is power, knowledge is power, and you can use that to then defend other people, defend these kids in this situation, right? Like I'm able to analyze this lens from a very different perspective. And yeah, the priority should be on the kids. And I'm going to fight for that. And I don't feel badly about that. And yeah, my own experience could cloud that judgment for sure, in a negative way or a positive way. But in this case, I'm choosing to lean into the positive and choosing to focus on those children. Christina says, of course, Nick Viall was bragging about his idea to pick Taylor Frankie Paul as the Bachelorette. What does he say now? He's not saying anything now. He is not saying anything now. Let's see. Zach, what is your scoop on Huda from Love Island? I don't know anything about Huda from Love Island. I'm not a Love Islander, unfortunately. So, I mean, I vaguely remember the name. I feel like there was probably some drama or some scandal somewhere, but certainly not entirely sure what is up with Huda. Yeah, finally Nick shuts his mouth. I mean, listen, he was big and he was like, this is great. And to be fair, and to Nick Viall's credit, and I've been very critical of him, it was a brilliant move, right? To capitalize off of the height of the popularity of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and to put one of the wives on the show. And again, Taylor was the biggest star from the show. So, I don't know. Kayla says, Huda has a restraining order against her now. She's the I'm a mommy girl, so she blew up. She is, oh, that's interesting. I'm a mommy. A what? Mamacita. No, I'm a mommy. All right. I think that's all I got for you guys. That's what I got. Loving is what I got. Gelmeal says, we're so Y2K obsessed. We're going back to reality TV that has no regard for people in it. I mean, listen, we do love reality TV. Zach, you would like Love Island? I suggest watching the next season. Maybe I will. I'm sure I will. I know people love it. My thing with Love Island is it's such a commitment, right? You have to tune in every night. Zach, it's my birthday. Hi, Charlene Barden. And before anybody, listen, as much as I love you all, usually when one person's like, it's my birthday and happy birthday, everybody wish Charlene a happy birthday. But once we do one person's birthday, then everyone's like, well, my birthday was yesterday. My birthday was 2 weeks ago. Well, my birthday's in November. And everybody wants a birthday shout out. So happy birthday to everybody, January through December. I love you all. And especially a happy birthday to Charlene today, because today is her birthday. What do you think is the future of The Bachelor, Zach? I could see them trying to, I mean, they're going to need to lay low. I don't know if they'll end up airing this season. I know they're going to lose a lot of money by not airing this season. So Robert Irwin. That's what I think is the future of The Bachelor. He's so safe and so vanilla. I think make Robert Irwin the next Bachelor and completely pray that this Taylor Frankie Paul thing just like fades into oblivion. Is it true The Bachelorette is canceled? Yes, my love. Where you been? Well, it presumably canceled for now, right? There's still rumors that it could at some point come back, but yeah. Robert Irwin, yes. And trust me, we're going to have all the stories about Crocodile Son's dad and how Crocodile Dad, Alex Earl. No, I think they're probably going to shy away from doing another Bachelorette, like famous Bachelorette for a while. I think they're just going to try to lay low with the Bachelorette franchise. But I can see Robert Irwin being, or like Dylan Efron. I could see one of those, right? Oh, but he has a girlfriend now. Or like Rob Roush. He has a girlfriend too, though. But I can see like one of those guys becoming the next Bachelor. And I think Robert Irwin is the only one that's single. You need one of those like golden boys, right? The golden boy of reality TV. That's what you need. All right. Dylan has a girlfriend. Listen, Flava Flav was married, and so was Bret Michaels when they were doing their Of Love show. So it's not very hard to break up. Oh, Maura Higgins. Yeah. Apparently Dakota has called CPS on her before. Yes, I believe he's made several reports to CPS. Even if kids don't recall those instances, trains live in the body. Yeah, for sure. Alex Earl is dating Tom Brady. Listen, I love that one. I love that one, that combo. I joke, like, who is the next one at this point? Andrew Tate. Like, seriously? James Kennedy. James Kennedy is the next Bachelor. That would be a great one, right? All right. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Go support and listen to and watch Daily Dose of Donna. That'll be streaming up next. So go give some love in the club. All right, guys. I love you. I appreciate you. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode. Hit the subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I love all of those reviews. We got some new reviews. You guys actually listened. Oh man, look at. We're not going to say her name, Alexa. We're not going to say it because I don't want to trigger her or turn her on. So we're just going to say A. We're going to call her A. Battery Pro Lover says, A reminded me. 5 stars. I love Zack. He's my number one go-to. I love his no F's giving, in your face honesty. I've been listening for a while and I can almost determine what he's going to say when he's Zacktivated. Love, love, love you. Thank you, Battery Pro Lover. That's so sweet. Anne Marie 26 says, great podcast, 5 stars. Love your take on things and you are so funny. Thank you. Hannah EYR says, A, leave Zack a review in 1 hour, 5 stars. I look forward to Zack's daily updates. He's so distinct. He's a distinguished gentleman with fabulous skin who will happily sing any song that comes to mind. I think we all have a blast doing karaoke together. I hope my review Zacktivates you. It certainly does. It Zacktivates my heart. Also, I don't have an A, but also realized I've never reviewed your podcast. Love you, mean it. Thank you, Hannah. That's so sweet. Govaya says best ever, period. 5 stars, best podcast, all of your reality tea. I look forward to each episode every day. It's the best company to have while cooking dinner. Love it. Love, love, love. Dwayne, Diane, she spells it Dyane. Diane Hydrovo. What's up, girlfriend? She says, A told me to be here. Welp, I was one of the, I'm sure, of the A's that were reminded to write a review of No Filter with Zack Peters. So here I am. I found your podcast through TikTok, and I'm so happy I did. Your perception of everything is something I look forward to hearing every day. Thank you for being a breath of fresh air in this world of illusions. Thank you. Wow, so many. B. Lloyd 1978 says, love me some Zack, 5 stars. I just stopped doing what I was doing to leave this review because my A told me to. Winky face. You should have left one a long time. Zack entertains me daily. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I love you. I appreciate you. You're so sweet. I do not feel worthy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys on Monday. But yeah, enjoy. You can always sign up if you want ad-free episodes on No Filter All Access on Supercast, bonus episodes, ad-free episodes, all the good stuff. And then this Sunday is the finale of the tour tapes. So be sure to stream the finale. It's so fun. You see so many of your favorites. Gretchen Rossi's in it. Jacqueline Larita's in it. Christy Spillsesh, she's in it. She talks about her subpoena with Blake Lively. Who else is in it? Donna Bowling's in it. Chef Stu's in it. Like, we really go out with the bang. Let's go out with a bang. There's drama. There's tea. Be nice when you watch the drama and the tea. Because remember, this was filmed last summer. So yeah, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Catch the finale. Sky and Sully are in the finale as well. So don't forget, tune into the finale. Like it, leave a comment or review, all the things. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy.